The way we go, just like that, another 5:30 mindfulness meditation half hour on Monday. My name's Casey. Awesome to see you as always. You're in the heat of summer, which I love. That's great. Um, the purpose of meditation is to paraphrase, I believe, Deepak Chopra, who's a great source on the subject of meditation and mindfulness. He said, meditation is not about imposing silence on our thoughts. It's about finding and exploring the space that already exists between our thoughts. And I love that because it takes away the aspect or the pressure of having to force silence or stillness on ourselves, because ultimately that can't be forced, at least not for very long, or not in a forceful way that implies tension or stress. Because ultimately, in true meditation practice and mindfulness, that's what we're eliminating. That's what we are dissolving. That's what we are alleviating ourselves of, is that tension and that stress that so often accumulates day by day. And that stress, as I've said before, is a killer in every sense of the word, figuratively, but quite literally as well. So it's not, the practice of meditation is not about imposing silence on our thoughts. Rather, it's about recognizing, noticing, exploring, finding the space that already exists between our thoughts. And I was talking with a friend of mine, she's a writer, and as am I. And she asked if I ever had a hard time finding my words, because when she in in her own experience, she starts to get anxious when she can't find the words to say when she's writing, because that's her livelihood and that's what she likes. That's how she expresses herself. And I said, of course, I can't find the words sometimes. Doesn't happen very often, but it certainly happens. And sometimes you just can't figure out what you want to say, and it's hard to write. And I said, but that's why we write. That's why we do it. We can't find the words sometimes, but we just keep going until we do. And I quoted Michelangelo, one of my favorite quotes when it comes to art and the idea of creation in general, inspiration. He said, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. And I love that because you have just a huge slab of marble and you're looking at it and you think there's an angel in there somewhere. There's a figure, there's a statue, but how are you going to get there? And you just have to get it a little bit at a time. You're chiseling away at this massive slab of marble. And a lot of times I'd imagine you reach a point where you're like, ooh, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I don't really know what direction to take. I can't find the words. I can't find the inspiration. I can't find the direction. And what do? You just keep going till you set it free. The trusting in the process is the takeaway of that statement for me. Trusting in the process and knowing that eventually it will come. Knowing that if you just keep at it and take your time and stay present, stay committed to the practice of being mindful, of focusing, staying in the present moment. If you do that, eventually the proverbial angel will uh, make itself known to you. You'll be able to see that. And that's what meditation is, because sometimes we sit down and we really can't find that stillness. And the most effective way to find it is to stop looking for it and just allow everything to happen as it is. Trusting in the process, I told my writer friend, sometimes I can't even see the angel and I just keep going because I have to trust that if I continue to go and continue to pursue um, this this state of wonder, this state of creation, if my intention is to continue on in the direction of you know artistry or creation or writing or expression, whatever, you just have to trust that if you continue on, it will eventually make itself known. It will eventually materialize, and you'll be able to make much more significance out of it. It'll make a lot more sense. When we sit down to meditate, we don't know what's going to happen. And if you think you do, that's fine, but that's fortune telling, and you really don't know. Only in the moment can we realize what is actually happening. And after the fact, we can judge, we can, go back and analyze if we wish. But ultimately, in the present moment, whatever happens, happens. So trying to predict what a meditation session will be like before we do it is not necessary. It's something that we do. We have a tendency to do, to prognosticate or predict or fortune tell or anticipate something about the future. But it really doesn't matter, because when we sit down to meditate, we don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And when we sit down to meditate, we can let go and trust in that process and just trust that, yeah, I might not find stillness right away, but I trust that if I continue to stay with it, if I continue to relax, if I continue to trust in the process, then that stillness that's already there, that's been there the whole time, that has always existed, it'll make itself known. And maybe it'll take 5 minutes, maybe it'll take 20 minutes. It doesn't matter if we trust in the process, because then time is not the idea. And the end result is no longer the end result. I've said before that meditation is not a means to an end. It's not something to get to the next thing. It is the thing. And we get to let go and we get to trust in that. And we get to think, okay, well, whatever's happening right now, I just want to be here for it fully. And, whether or not I can see the angel materializing or making itself known in this vast slab of marble, it's all part of the process. And trusting that things will continue to move in that direction of mindfulness, of stillness, that trusting the process is a huge, huge part of the practice of mindfulness. And really, it changes everything, because when we meditate, we're continuing to practice being okay with what is. And that is a radical, revolutionary practice to have for anyone. We are continuing to come back to ourselves, recognizing what is, and making ourselves be okay with that. And again, that might imply force. We're forcing ourselves to be okay with it, but we're not. We're relaxing, we're breathing, we're mindful, we're noticing what we're thinking, what we're feeling, how we're doing. And within that, we start to get little drops, if we wish to say, little drops of stillness or little periods of stillness. And we think, oh, okay, well, that's stillness. And then maybe the mind comes up and we think, oh, that's not stillness. That's fine. One can't exist without the other, right? It's not that we are striving for stillness and trying to push something else away. Everything exists interdependently within everything that uh, everything that is. It exists interdependently with everything else. And when it's like that, we're not trying to force anything about the practice. And so trusting in the process, seeing the end result isn't necessary. There is no end result. It's just we just keep going. We just keep noticing how we're feeling, what we're doing. And when we do that outside of our meditation and stillness practice, things start to we start to experience things in a different way, because all of a sudden we've been practicing so much being okay with what is, that when disaster strikes or tension comes up or stress comes up, it doesn't resonate the same way. It doesn't affect us in the same way, because we've practiced trusting in the process and we think, oh yeah, this is really stressful. But because I've practiced just being with it, I'm dealing with this in a completely different way. And that's a huge, huge takeaway of a consistent and steady meditation practice. And we get that opportunity every time that we sit down. So sometimes you can't see the angel, just trusting in the process and believing that you're doing what needs to be done, doing the right thing in the present moment. That's what the practice is all about. So trusting in the process. So find a comfortable seated position and we'll just relax and see what happens. 15 minutes here, shoulders roll up, back and down, spine is long, relaxing the muscles in your face. A few deep breaths on your own. Then we get to relax and trust in the process, see what happens. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Whenever you're ready, gently blink your eyes open. If we wish to interpret Michelangelo's angel in a more metaphorical light and within the context of meditation, then the angel could be symbolic of understanding, insight, stillness. These things are not always easily accessible to us. And when we sit down, we can often be experiencing so much tumultuous turmoil on a mental, physical, physiological level that we might think there's no way that there's stillness here. There's no way that there's insight or understanding here. But if we trust in the process and we think, no, somewhere there is, I can see it somewhere in there, and I can let go. And instead of searching for it on a more active level, I can relax and allow that stillness, that understanding, that insight to find me. That's how we can start to see the angel in the marble. Just one of infinite ways to think about conceptualizing our practice. And as always, I thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Great to see you as always.